Hoodie off. I don't like this, but we're going to cut it off. Welcome. Welcome to the latest episode of Making the Case for Your Lawyer Dreams. I'm your host, the one and only Anthony Denmark, where our goal, our purpose is to help you guys take the next step in your journey, overcome the challenges that you're currently facing, and break through and manifest your lawyer dreams. We are so excited to have you here today. I understand that life be lifing, but you know what, fam? Square up. Because we going to keep fighting. You had that dream for a reason. And yeah, we got the LSAT. Yeah, we got the bar. Yeah, we got law schools testing your patience. But fam, good things don't just come to those who wait. Good things come to those who work. I'm so excited to be able to have you guys on our show. Of course, I'm holding it down in St. Louis, Missouri. It's not the place where I want to be. It is the place where God has me. Go ahead and fill our chat box up and let us know where you're viewing our session from. Sending all the love out there to Illinois. We know we got Florida in the house. We know we got Texas in the house. Let us know. This platform is designed for you. Not just to consume the information, but also to take the information, apply it, and change your life. So fill our chat box up with questions. We want to make sure that you know what you have to do next in your journey. Understand low LSATs, imperfect life, low GPAs will not stop you from becoming a lawyer if you want it. If you're willing to grow, if you're willing to challenge yourself to take the next step in your journey, you will become the lawyers of your dreams. But fam, it's all up to you. How bad do you want it? Are you going to fold? Or are you going to rise up? Each week we have guests come on from all over the country, sharing their stories. They look like you, overcoming the challenges that you're currently going through, to show you the truth that there is a path forward, that you can become a lawyer, that you can overcome it, and that you can live your best life unapologetically. Coming from rural communities, coming from the city, coming from life where life started lifing, and they decided to keep fighting. Bam. You don't have to be perfect to become a lawyer. You just got to be resilient. You got to have an unrelenting work ethic. And you got to have a willingness to say, when life starts lifing, I'm going to pivot and grow. We got an amazing guest coming on, episode 104, who's going to share his story. My man came from the South, from a city with only 3,000. And now he's doing the damn thing. He did it, so can you. So let us know where you're viewing our session from. And fill our chat box up, yo, with questions. Because we want to make sure that you come away from here fed, y'all. We want to make sure you come away with a clear message in regards to what you are going to do next. I'm getting kind of hype over here by this song, though. But nevertheless, we're happy here to have you. I want you guys to stay encouraged. I want you guys also to make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can follow our past episodes at BecomingJD. And stay locked in and stay full in regards to what you have to do next. I'm going to cut T.I. on, and I'm going to have our guest Malcam about to come on. He's going to come and drop some gems. All right, let's roll. Like that beat. Come on. It's Wednesday, y'all. We going to be all right. 4 months down in 2026, and we still going to be all right. So let's go ahead and get my guy on. We got Jersey in the house. Welcome to Sean, fam. You want to check out this store? Let me go ahead and cut the video off. What it do, King? How we doing, brother?
How you doing?
Man, T.I. I had to throw on some throwback. T.I. had me hype over here.
Oh man, my playlist has all 200s trap music and then a whole bunch of NBA young boys. So there's a big gap.
And Yo, first things first, fam. I want to thank you for coming on to our show. I think that representation is so important. And I also think it's so important for lawyers to be able to see people who look like them doing what they want to do. Because you know and I both know, fam, we go into these courtrooms, we don't be seeing a lot of us up in there.
Absolutely not.
And initially, it's very discouraging. But then we
Right.
begin to realize, you know what, I'm supposed to be in this space, so you know what, I'm going to rock out. And hopefully, other people are going to rock out too. So I want to first give you the floor to tell people who you are, and then we're going to jump into some questions.
Right. So my name is Attorney Malcam Godwin. I'm from North Florida, but not the Florida that you may picture. It's not like the palm trees.
Right.
Florida, right? So I'm from North Florida, which is, you can think closer to Southern Alabama. That's what it looks like. So it's a lot of farmland, stuff like that. And there's a lot of people that want to do some other stuff other than farming on the other side of it, you know. So I always make the joke, we got trap houses and barn houses, right? Out there. There ain't no in between. So, you know, there wasn't a whole, and I went to a very small school. I graduated with, in my high school, 24 people. And that's not a private school. That's just our public school, graduated with 24 people. There were some other schools, but even those other schools weren't that big. So you had one school that maybe had 80, another one that had 120 in their graduating class. So none of the schools in the area were really that big either, compared to what I've learned later about how big high schools can get.
Yeah.
I graduated from high school. I did pretty good in high school. There's 24 of us. I graduated third, so it was tough, you know. Then I went on to Flagler College in St. Augustine, Florida. A lot of people know it as the place that looks like Hogwarts. That's what a lot of people call it.
Yeah.
And so that was the first time I went to a place, even though that's a small college for a lot of people, for me, that was a larger place, right? A lot of rich kids at Flagler also. So that was my first, because yes, there was a lot of white people in my high school, but everybody is kind of country, right?
Yeah.
So you don't run into that, what you consider prestige or very rich people, because even the white folks are dealing with the same issues you dealing with. Everybody kind of country poor or country rich. Right?
Yeah, there we go.
Right. So Flagler was the first time I kind of encountered, I'm not going to say the first time I encountered racism, but the first time, so in high school, when you start in pre-K at my school, they know you from the time you're very small.
Yeah.
Right? All the way until you graduate. So what happens is a lot of cognitive dissonance, where that's my little black kid that I know that's really good, right? So you don't really see a whole lot of issues if you're a smart black kid in that country area, because they've known you since you grow up. Flagler was the first time I went to a place where a lot of these white people didn't see me before, right? So they had preconceived notions. They had things like that. I remember I was waiting for my refund check so I could get my books. And that first semester, my English teacher kicked me out of English class because I didn't have my books. Like it was, we didn't really get along that well, that type of thing. But it was the first time that I encountered a lot of people. Like initially I was a sport management major because I wanted to be a sport agent. And so I was a sport management major initially. And even the head of that program, it never really accepted me, despite the fact I would throw out 95s, 97s on her test. But to her, I didn't present what she pictured a graduate of that school would look like. Because even then, I had dreads. I got my lingo. I got how I talk, those type of things. And so it never really connected between us. And this was the first time I was truly understanding what it's like to be kind of black in white spaces.
Yeah, that's deep.
And don't get me wrong, there was some people that really, like in the PreLaw program, it was this woman named Chris Moses. She was like, nah, you're going to go to law school and you're going to be really good at it. Like I can tell. And she was already a defense attorney herself. And she took it upon herself because she was like, nah, there's a lot of black kids at this school that can go to law school and ain't nobody telling them that. Right. And it was just the introduction of the idea to put the law degree with the sport management. Eventually, in the process of me deciding that I was going to go to law school for sport management, I had a close cousin that got killed. I think I was like end of junior year, beginning of senior year. Mm-hmm. He got killed, and the issue was, I never forget, my aunt wrote a letter to the prosecutor because she felt that the prosecutor didn't really care, right? Because my cousin did some things, right? And how they looked at him because of what they felt he was or who he was. I think it affected how they approached the case, what kind of deals they took, those type of things on a murder case. And I'll never forget thinking to myself, I said, you know what? That's really, to me, at that time, at 21, 22, I was like, man, that's the issue with the prosecution side of stuff, is that there's not a lot of people that look like us when we're victims of crimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we always talk about the throwing in part, but when we're victims and that prosecutor on the other side can't really connect with you, doesn't want to connect with you, not used to talking to black people, stuff like that. And that was the first time I was like, you know what? I want to go to law school. I want to be a prosecutor first. And so that's kind of how it started with me going to Wake Forest. I remember sometimes I go back and look at my my personal statement from because I was like, did I want to do this? And sure enough, it was like sometimes I'll read it like, no, I wrote out everything I was going to do. You just forget sometimes that no, this has been your mindset all along, you know. And I remember writing about wanting to be the person that a victim of a crime can come to, and things like that. And so that's kind of how it ended up me going to Wake Forest. But when I got to Wake Forest, my second year, I ended up doing the Innocence and Justice Project.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and the guy that I was with, and you can look this up sometime, it's called The Trials of Daryl Hunt. And it was about a man who was wrongly convicted of a rape. I think it may have been a rape and murder. I know it was a rape. And he got exonerated due to DNA. And the main part of it was the teacher at Wake Forest who did it, Mark Rabel. And so I worked with Mark Rabel for about a year and a half. I'm talking about going around North Carolina, investigating innocence and justice cases. And that's when I kind of got a balance of both, where I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this, but I want to do this too. And he would always tell me, he said, no, do prosecution first. Gotcha. Learn how to build these cases, because one day you're going to have to break these cases down.
Yeah.
One day you're going to have to know all the stuff they know about building these cases. He said, do that first. And that really became the mission, is to learn everything I could while I was there. It didn't matter what went on. I was going to take as much in as I could to be as good as I could later on. So
now I got to ask you a question, fam.
Yeah.
All right. So, of course, I looked up and preparing for this interview. I was like, okay, so how did this young cat, Southern boy, I'm a Southern boy too.
Yeah.
From the South, from a town of only 3,000 people, have the audacity to dream as big as you did?
So, and I tell people this all the time, man. For me, and looking back on it, I now realize how ludicrous the idea really was. But at the time, I did not believe that. It never crossed my mind that I couldn't do those things, right? And that's literally, I just had to find out what the next step was and take it inch by inch, right? And that's honestly how I do everything in life. When I started playing basketball at my high school, I started 8th grade, and I was god-awful because when I was little, my mom wouldn't let me play. So here's the issue. My mom felt that some of my cousins my age were doing some not so great things.
Other activities.
Right. And so I wasn't necessarily allowed to play with my own, like some of my family members in my same age bracket, right? So my mom passed away when I was about 12 or so. And of course, I'm going to start hanging out with the boys then. But somewhere around that time, around 8th grade, I started playing on the team. But now I'm way behind everybody else.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody kind of already started playing organized ball. I didn't even know what practice was. Right. And so
practice.
That was the
We
first
talk
time
about practice?
Right. Right. I was like, no. We just show up. Right. We show up. We shoot. Right. What's plays? And so I remember 8th grade, I didn't play almost any. Like they were like, nah, you just here, buddy. And that was the first time I understood, okay, you gotta work for some things, right? And the benefit of being at a small school, you can kind of hang around until you become good at something.
Yeah.
At being at a small school. So yeah, I was at the end of the bench at first. By the time I'm a senior, I got the C. I'm starting, those type of things. And it gave me that confidence. Okay, you may be very far away from something you want, but you just got to take it one step at a time. What's the objective for the next day to get better? And you just keep getting better. You keep chipping away. And for me, that's all it was. It was like, no, if I work at it, like nobody, and I realized this the older I got. I was like, oh, nobody's going to outwork me. Right? Like nobody's going to cut out sleep if they need a little bit more time. Nobody's going to, be as obsessive as I am. So that has always been my thing. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, if I put it as a goal, it'll get there. It may not be what I wanted, but I'm going to get there.
So it was like, playing ball almost kind of set the foundation that you've applied towards the rest of your life. It's like,
absolutely.
This is where I start.
Yeah.
And I'm going to accept that when I start something, it may be horrible. But I'm understanding that if I put in that work and be consistent and I show up consistently, the outcomes are going to change. And I think that's something that for so many people who are trying to become lawyers, that's their biggest issue. And I read this quote the other day. It said, it's not that you don't like to study. It's just that you don't like the fact that you have to stay in a room and work at something that you're bad at until you get better at it.
Yep. Yeah. No, I tell people all the time, like when they're nervous about a new job, and they're like, I'm like, what are you nervous about? Right? They said, because I may not be good at this new job.
Yeah.
Right? And I said, that's privilege. You think going into something that you never did, that you're going to be good at. Why would you think that? Right? You're not a prodigy of some sort. Everybody goes into something new, and you got to understand you're not going to be good at it. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. And all you can do is continue to chip away at it. The idea that you can go into something that you've never done, the idea that I can go into my first test on the LSAT and just hit a 165, like, here you go, right? No. You're going to have a lot of days of 140s, 145s, man. You're going to have a lot of days of that. I took from the beginning of my senior year to the time I took it, that I think it was that October of my last year, I took over 145 practice tests.
Hold on. Did y'all hear that?
So like
y'all out there not taking practice tests, hold on. And this part he didn't say. Under time conditions?
Yes. Every
Expect
time.
A different result. My man is here telling you, fam, like, this grind requires growth requires you to be able to identify your areas of weakness. And that only happens with practice.
Oh yeah. No, me and my boy Sam, also a black lawyer. He's one of the lawyers at Nike now. And we were both at Flagler at the same time. We both like, and we took the LSAT on the same day. Right. And so we were building up to that. And so we understood. He played tennis at Flagler. And so we both understood the concept of practice. There was nothing odd about it. It was like, we just got to take a bunch of practice tests. And we just got to keep taking them. We just got to keep running them. Right. And then we would take them. We'll go back, go through. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. And figure out what we did wrong. That was nothing. Like the concept that you would feel bad because you had a bad day on a test didn't matter. You're learning from new questions that you didn't have that day.
Hold on. Say that part again. Learning from what?
You're learning from new questions that you hadn't had that's going to give you something additional to learn from. And so we wanted to take tests. Sometimes we would take full-time tests 2-3 times a week. And when we weren't doing that, we were taking like, kind of like sections. But every section we did under time conditions. There was no such thing as, oh, let's just flip through a book and answer questions. No, everything was timed. Everything was timed. And so that's kind of how we built that mentality. And I'll never forget, they put us in the same room for the LSAT. And as we go in, and I look back, and he's directly behind me. And we're looking around at some of those people that's getting tired of answering questions, because if you don't do it under time conditions, fatigue will hit you, just like you're playing ball, just like you're doing anything. And we look over, and he sees the same thing I see, where some of them like, and we're like, oh, we got that guy. That guy ain't making it. That was not making it. That was not making it. And we did the same thing when we took the actual bar. He took it in Illinois. I took it in Florida. But we had the same concept then. Everything's got to be under time conditions, right? Who cares if you missed it because of time conditions? Go back, learn from it. Go back, learn from it. But like the most important thing for us was getting practices in and what it would look like and feel like on test day.
Now, I want to go back in the time machine. For you guys just joining us, we live in full effect with Attorney Malcam, dropping gems, y'all. Listen, fam, you got to have tough skin if you want this dream, fam. The only way to practice is how that's practice. Yeah, we talk about practice, y'all, for real. Yeah. But one of the things I want to touch back and go back on for is you went to Wake Forest. You went from you were always a big fish in a small pond. And then you went up to Tobacco Road and went to Wake. Mm-hmm. And now we got a larger campus, a larger community. And I really want you to touch on, because one of the things that a lot of people have issues with, and I'm talking to my black kings and queens out there, we oftentimes find ourselves in our comfort zones. That means our HBCU law schools, which I love because I graduated from HBCU, and our chocolate cities. Mm-hmm. When you chose Wake Forest, what was it about Wake Forest that you were like, you know what? I may not be a lot of folks, but this is the folks where I know I could be able to get the support and the allyship I need to be successful. So
I'll tell you two parts to that. I'll tell you what ended up being the real reason I should have went and why I went. So why I went is what attracted to me. A lot of articles at that time in 2011 was talking about how Wake Forest was known for pumping out litigators. And they were like, oh yeah, they always have these great litigators at their school, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay. So, and I know what I want to be. And I know that's where they are. Right. And so I was purposely picking schools that I read these articles that they were talking about all these great litigators, stuff like that. I knew it was a tier 1. I knew kind of the coldest I would go is North Carolina.
Yeah.
Right. My boy Sam, he went to Northwestern. He was like, I'll take the trip. But the coldest I remember, the coldest I was going to go was probably the Carolinas for me. Because that was important. The older I get, the more I realize weather is like a real important thing for me. I didn't know that about myself. And so that was what drawn me there. And then I got on the phone with one of the admission ladies. Her name was Melanie Nutt. And she was like, no, I truly think you'll thrive here. And I remember having this long conversation with her. She was like, no, we really want you here. We really think that you will thrive here. I said, but what about the snow? And she was like, don't worry about the snow. She was like, on a little bit of snow, we cancel class. First of all, she was lying about that. But that's why I went. That's what attracted me to it, is that a little bit of me felt like there was competition there. And that's kind of what drew me over there that way, right? When I got there, man, I've never been outside of Florida, really, right? First thing, I go to the bank. What I didn't understand about North Carolina is that they have all these HBCUs in North Carolina.
Yeah, yeah.
So all these graduates graduate, and they stay in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And they have successful jobs. Keep in mind, I didn't know a whole lot of successful Black people in my area. So when I go to the bank and the bank manager was Black, what? And then I walk out of the door of the bank, and there's this old lady driving a Mercedes Benz going in. That's old black lady with Mercedes Benz. And so I go to orientation. The dean of the law school is black. Yeah, Dean Moran. I'll never forget. He comes up there. I didn't even know what color the dean was. I wasn't looking up that.
Right.
I said, wait. I said, this guy's our dean? Then in my 1L classes, I think 3 of my 5 1L teachers were black.
What?
Yeah, my Civ Pro teacher was black. That's Professor Parks. He writes a lot of books for Alpha Phi Alpha, things like that. Then my crim law teacher was Kami Simmons, who's also black. She used to be like a former federal prosecutor. And then I think my contracts teacher was her husband, Omari Simmons. And then there was another contract teacher who was also black, who worked like in NCAA. And so, yeah, I ended up with 3 of my 5 1L teachers being black. Also, that year, you know how law schools send out a certain number of acceptances and they expect a certain number to take it. Well, more people took it than they thought. So we ended up with a larger class than they ever had at Wake Forest. They had to create an extra section.
An extra cohort.
Right. But that extra section was because it had to be at least 20 black people in that one class. Yes.
I get Wake Forest is low-key HBCU over here. What?
I'm looking around. I said, wait a minute. I've never in my life, till that point, I never had a black teacher. And to have that many black people in a class was just mind-blowing to me. And all of them, when I say all of them, were what I consider smarter and stronger than me. When I initially got there, they had all done something like one did Teach for America before he came in. Another one, he had did like a whole 2 tours in Iraq before he came in. I mean, we're talking teachers, we're talking track stars, you know, at NC State. Like all of these people had just great resumes, but also were great people. They knew more about the world than I did, right? I'm just a country boy, right? But they're talking extreme levels of politics, deep thought stuff. And I'm like, okay. And there was nothing more beneficial for me than to be around them. Okay. Some of them were second generation lawyers, black lawyers, second generation black lawyers. Some of them were, their parents had PhDs, stuff like that. And just being around these people and hearing these conversations over those 3 years built me up. And I'm talking, that's outside of the classroom, is just being around people that I kind of looked up to in my own class. Like, man, these are rock stars. I would never tell them that because I got an ego of my own, okay? All right? And when we're around, I'm going to be a dog.
Not too bad myself.
I'm that guy, right? But in my head, I'll never forget thinking, and it wasn't intimidation because they never made me feel intimidated. But to me, I was like, man, this is what W.B. Du Bois was talking about when he said the 1%. Oh, man, right? Like just being around those people, I think truly elevate. I thought I was good, but I think being around them definitely made me better. And I think that was the real reason I ended up at Wake Forest, was to be around those people.
And I think from that, for those who are listening, when trying to figure out schools, what my man is telling you is that you really want to take the time to be able to explore the school, see the faculty, and also possibly visit the school to see what your level is. I oftentimes tell people, you know, I used to laugh and joke when people used to talk about things like vibes and stuff like that, but that is real.
Yeah, no, it is.
I think that is a sixth sense that we've been blessed with, to be able to find out, is this going to be a place where I'm going to feel comfortable and supported, or a place where I got to be like, nope, it's a hard no for me. So,
and I think the biggest way that stood out, my boy Sam, he was at Northwestern. He came down to Wake Forest for spring break, right? For his spring break, he came down. And I'll never forget him saying, man, I wish I came here, right? Because as soon as he joined, as soon as he came up, everybody that was at the school was like, "Oh, what's up, Sam?" He became one of us. He was like, "Oh, you in law school too?" Bet. And so we all had the same conversations about the same stuff. He became part of the group immediately, right? And just that, he was like, "Man," he was like, "we don't really have this type of thing at Northwestern the way you have it here." Right. And he felt comfortable that whole week there, just studying with us, chilling with us, hanging with us. And I mean, all of them, not just me. And we all became friends that day because, like, it was a thing. And so him telling me that, I was like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, man, going back up to Northwestern, salty, like, these MNFs over here.
Right?
Now, one of the things that I love asking, and let's think about it, right? Oftentimes, I just got you telling the student of this earlier, is to say you want to be a lawyer, we're all kind of built different because this is a journey that requires a lot of sacrifice. It requires a lot of humility, and it requires a lot of time of you having to literally look at the person in the mirror and say, what do I need to do to be better?
Mm-hmm.
But we don't ever get to that point unless it's something that we want to be completed and invested in. So I oftentimes ask you guys, I'm going to show my grades when I ask this question, but when did you fall in love with law? Because we don't do it just for money, because we got to go through so many hoops and fires before we even get to the money. So when did you fall in love with it, fam?
You know what? I tell people this all the time. I don't think I ever fell in love with law. I fell in love with the mission.
I love it.
Right? I had a mission. I had a mindset of what I wanted for myself and what I wanted to help people with. Right? Law happened to be the venue in which I chose to use it. And so that meant I had to go through a lot of stuff. Right? But to say I love law, no. I love the missions that I have. Right? Like, I have a mindset of I want to accomplish this. I want to accomplish this. And how I'm going to get there is whatever I need to do to get there. Right? And so, yeah, I can't say it's a love of law, but it is a love of whatever mission I want to complete at that time.
I guess another way to ask it then would be like, I mean, you and me both, we country boys from the South.
Yeah.
How on earth did you find out about becoming a lawyer? When did those seeds could even get planted?
Yeah, it was a slow progression because initially it was sport management, and I was like, okay, who becomes the best sport agents? Well, most of the best sport agents have law degrees.
Right.
And so that's how law school kind of came into view. I was like, okay, this is what I have to do to accomplish this mission. But as I started, you become a different person while you're training and practicing to get into law school. Yeah. If you don't change a little bit of your mindset, I don't know how you're going to get there, right? And so as I was going through this and learning more about law and learning more about myself getting there, and then I had things going on in my own personal life, like cousins going to prison, stuff like that, or cousins getting killed. I started feeling like my dream of wanting to work in sport, and this is not for everyone, just specifically for me, I started feeling like that was trivial.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm seeing what's going on in the criminal justice system. I'm seeing how we're not represented. And as the time goes on, as I'm studying to go to law school, the reason I'm going is starting to change. Yeah. So by the time I wrote my personal statements, it had changed. I was no longer going to be a sport agent. I was going to work in criminal justice in some way. And that solely became, the entry point was sport management and being an agent and wanting to be a general manager, those type of things. But as time went on, to me, it felt like, why am I doing that? Like, I'm just going to be helping this rich person get money and this rich person switch money to this person. And to me, and that doesn't mean, because, you know, my boy Sam, that's what he still works in. We both started at the same time. So that's what he still works in. But for me, I started losing passion for it like that and started seeing another vision of what I could do for it. So that's kind of what started building up for me.
Wow, that's so surreal. Because I think for me, I had a similar journey. I remember seeing the movie Jerry Maguire.
Oh, it's our favorite movie. It's me and his
Don't be
favorite
funny.
movie. Yeah.
Like, he went to Notre Dame Law School, so I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to go to Notre Dame Law School, and I'm going to represent clients. I went and interned with the Poston Brothers, who was a big in the sports agency at that time.
Yep.
I had that moment where he was like, well, this is only serving me.
Yep.
And I can't just do that. And like you said, different strokes for different folks.
Right.
But one of the things I think that's oftentimes, I want to just kind of go back a little bit in the time machine, is I said that law school is a very humbling process. We begin to
Mm-hmm.
realize, like, God, dog, I thought I was smart. But we all have that moment in law school where we're like, okay, what worked in college ain't about to work here. So I always ask you guys to share what I call my oh shit moment, where it's like, oh, I got to pivot, change, and open up the hood and do some rewiring. What was an experience like for you?
So, okay, you don't get a lot of chances to see how well you're doing in law school, right?
No,
You may get some midterm. You may, depending on the teacher, may get a midterm, maybe, right? And then you get your finals, right? For me, I believe it was con law, right? And here's why. Mine was opposite. I thought I needed to change how I studied. So I started imitating what I saw other people do.
Yeah.
Right? I see people doing flashcards. Okay, I should do flashcards. Okay, I see people doing this type of outline. Okay, I should do that type of outline. Right? Because I'm already there seeing all these people that, like, I literally had 2 people in my class that were literal teachers. And they would give examples like, I like to tell my students. My God, right? I was just a student, that type of thing. So I'm picking, I don't want to be a person that's like, nah, my way is the only way to do this. So I'm getting lost in pulling from everybody else, right? And not using my own strengths, not using the strength that increased my LSAT score, not using the strength that got me through undergrad or high school. None of that. I'm just trying to figure out how other people do it and do it that way. And I remember a teacher being like, yo, I mean, you solid. You ain't doing that great in common law. Got it, right? And I'm looking around. And at that point, I had to realize something. And it was that I had to go back to doing it how I like to do it, right? What got me there sometimes is the only way to do it, right? And so for me, it's all about me just taking the information and going over it 100 times, right? Like for me, it's all about just not making flashcards and stuff like that, but literally just reading my own notes a billion times, right? Sometimes I'll write out some, oh, okay. But for me, that being alone with the notes and everything and just going over and reading over and over again, that's how I work. But I had been trying all these other ways and it wasn't working for me. And once I found that, that's kind of what sent me to be successful in law school. But until then, man, I was struggling because I was trying to do everything everybody else is doing.
You're literally throwing paint on the wall and hoping something sticks.
Right.
And that advice applies to so many of you guys out there. I want you guys to be able to understand when studying and preparing for the bar, the LSAT, or anything for that matter, you have to be able to find what works best for you. This whole law school thing, it is not one size fits all. Really, the journey, oftentimes tell them, fam, I said, the journey to becoming an attorney is literally a journey where you're having to face yourself to find out what works best for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
The crowd itch does not work. And I'm sorry for you guys out there that may have already purchased them. The supplemental outlines, those things are trash. They do not work. What works is you being able to find out the best way. I know you talked about you reading. For me, I was that dude that was writing everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
The one that had all the boards, and then I would erase everything and try to write it from scratch.
Right.
But the thing is, like, trying to find out what works best for you. So we survived law school, right? And it's amazing. It's no but a surreal feeling that when you graduate from law school, you got this damn bar looming over your head. It's like, when you graduated from college, y'all, we had senior night, we got drunk.
Yep. Yep.
I'll never forget when I graduated, the professor was like, don't mess up on the bar. So I love asking you guys about sharing not only like your experience preparing for the bar, but also the jubilation when you found out that you passed it. So let me know where you were, what you did, and how it was when you found out.
Right. So studying for the bar, I went and stayed at Jacksonville with my friend who lives in Jacksonville, and he always makes jokes about how I studied for the bar because I did nothing else. I'm talking 15 hours a day. Like, if I could find something to work on, I worked on it. That's all I did. Put it all in. So, okay, so the day that I'm passing the bar, I'm back home. Money's running low, man. When I say low, I mean low, okay? I need this to say pass so I could start working at the prosecutor's office down here. And the day of, I open it up and I look at it. And I remember, because I went to law school out of state, my plan was fail the state part, pass the MBE part so high that overall I would pass. That's what I thought was going to happen because, again, I didn't know how strong I would be for the state part of the bar, for Florida, yeah. The state of Florida part.
Hey, ain't no play with you guys.
Right. So in Florida, their state part is ugly, okay? Just ugly. So in my mind, I was like, look, I just got to be really great at the MBE because I may fall a little short on the state, right? And that's how I was thinking. Well, I get there and I see pass. I said, is that me?
Hold on now. Hold on.
Huh? So I called my cousin to come over to the house. I said, look at this number and look at that. What does it say? He says, it says pass. I said, man, I passed the bar. Like, it was more relief than happiness for me because people that were around me knew this is it. Okay.
Yes. No breaks.
Your boy may have been on the corner the next day if this didn't work out. Okay. Like, this was it. This was it. All right. It was prosecution on the wire. I didn't know where we were going. I just knew I had put everything I had into this one moment. And that's how I studied. I studied understanding that I had no place to go. I had nothing else to do. This is it. And I think that's, honestly, I look back on that like, how did I survive? Because that amount of pressure is wild. Like, I knew I did not have a fallback system. You know, like I said, my mom died when I was 12. My dad has never been around ever. And so for me, this was it. This was a wrap. I had put everything in the idea of passing the bar, becoming a lawyer. And if that didn't work out, I don't even know if I would have had the opportunity or time to study again. This may have been a one-shot deal, right? And so it was a lot of pressure, and I guess I just didn't realize it in the moment, or I just kept it out of my mind. But it was more relief than anything at that moment.
And I think what I want you guys to get from that story, he's sharing this story not to scare you, but to let you know what it takes. And the thing is, that's what it takes to take the next step in your journey, you guys. At every step, you're going to have to step out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
You're going, yes, high school, college, you were the who's who, magna super laureate, whatever. But as you continue to scale up that mountain, it's not that you're not capable. It has to be that you're willing to do the things to leave it all out on the field. I've never met anybody or talked to anybody, we've been doing these interviews for years, who's ever said, I ain't studied.
Right.
Now the bar stories bring back memories in regards to when you learned who you were at that particular moment.
No, I heard some people in line when we were walking in, because we do the bar exam in the Tampa Convention Center.
Okay.
Right. And so they clear out the entire middle part of the convention center and just put in tables. So anybody in the state of Florida, we in that room, right? And I remember walking in, and this one girl's talking to this guy. She was like, "Yeah, I didn't really study. I feel like it's just gonna work out for me." You know, I was like, "Well, okay, that's one down."
Yep, there we go.
That works for me. But no, like, I feel like the idea of study, to me, and I know a lot of people do it. Hey, more power to them. There's a lot of people that work while studying for the bar, right? There's a lot of people that pick up other hobbies, other things. Oh, I should do this to keep my stress down. Look, man, you got 12 weeks. I don't care how high your stress get in 12 weeks. You got to get this done. I wasn't doing nothing else, because if I was working while studying for the bar, guess what? I ain't working again if that bar result come back to nothing. You know what they do to certified interns when they don't pass the bar? You go home. Okay? I didn't do nothing else. Okay? Because that was it. These 8 to 12 weeks, it's going to work because it's got to work. That's all that is.
Hold on. Say that part again. It's what?
It's going to work because it's got to work. That's all it is. It's going to work because it's got to work. And the desperation's got to be there. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, you got to relax. That's not how I approach that. I think a lot of people, and a lot of people that don't look like us, have a lot of cushion if things don't work out. Okay? And a lot of times for us, we ain't got a lot of that cushion. And you just got to understand that. And look, my favorite player was Kobe Bryant. And the concept of the mom mentality, like, no, you wake up early, you go to sleep late, you get this done. And that's all you can do is put in the work. And the thing that makes me comfortable, even now as a lawyer, is that I know I put in all the work I can. There's not me thinking back like, oh, I should have worked on it that day, but I didn't. No, there's none of that. I fill up all that time with putting as much in as I can. And so the result of a jury doesn't matter to me, because I know I put everything I had on this. And that's all you can do on any given day. And that's why I told you it's going to work, because it's got to work. You know what I mean? You got to put it all in on that day.
So we go from 15 hours of studying a day to now we sworn in.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's real.
Yeah.
How was that process like? Because that's even its own adjustment to go from, now this is live bullets. This ain't theory. This ain't questions. This is real.
Yeah. So in a little bit of why that worked out for me is at Wake, they have this competition. They have two competitions. They have a 1L competition, and then they have a 1 through 3L competition. The 1L competition, you do an opening and closing. And they grade you on the opening and closing. It's a whole tournament. And you get into what's called trial bar, right? Which is trial bar group. If you do well, if you make it to the 16, the round after round robin, if you make it to the final 16, you make trial bar, right? And I said, oh, that's cool. Trial bar is of the people that they consider are really good litigators. I did not own a suit when my 1L year, right? And so I go to do the 1L competition. And I don't have a suit, and I didn't know you actually needed one. I thought just doing a presentation of an opening and closing. So I wear a sweater vest and a button up, right? And I go do the 1L. I do the first round of the round robin. And after it's done, the guy tells me, he says, man, that was really good, but you didn't dress well, right? So I got marked so low for my dress that first time that even though I went out and scrapped up some money, bought some random suit from a cheap guy in the mall in Winston-Salem for the second part of the round robin, it didn't matter. I got hit so hard that I didn't make the 16, despite the fact in my head, I was like, man, I've now seen two people at this law school do an opening and closing, and they weren't good. I was like, maybe I'm not as small fish as I think.
Exactly.
But at that time, I don't make the 16, right? So I asked somebody, I said, well, how can you make trial bar if you don't make it then? Says, well, you got to make the elimination of the 1 through 3. right? With the 2 and 3 L's that have taken trial ad, because now you do opening, closing, crosses, directs, the whole thing. I said, bet. I order a trial book, like a mock trial book from Amazon for $10. And I read that in my spare time. And I go and do the 1 through 3L competition, is usually 2s and 3s, because they're the only people that have done trial ad and advanced trial ad. Not only did I make the trial bar, but I make the final 4 and I get money for it, right? So I'm knocking out 2nd and 3Ls, right? 2 and 3Ls by doing this. And that's the first time I realized, oh, I'm not just good at talking for where I live.
Oh, wow.
I do this. This is my thing. As soon as I made that semifinal round, that's the first time I realized, like, oh, I'm good at this, right? And funny thing about that, I used that money to buy my first real suit, and I still have that suit. I always wear the tie is old and dingy still, but I keep that tie because I'll never forget. I won $250 from that. I went back to that mall, went and bought a good suit. That was my suit, right? And so coming here, fast forward, coming here, I already knew if I got into a courtroom, I wasn't going to have a problem. I had done that competition and those things so much in understanding how mock trial worked, understanding, I went through trial ad and advanced trial, and every teacher's like, no, I see why you're doing criminal law. This is what you do. You're not afraid of a crowd. You can talk to anybody. You have gift of gab. And I was like, oh, and every time a teacher or someone told me, I was like, no, there's nothing like you in here. Every time a teacher told me that, I was like, oh, okay. It's not because I'm just a small town kid. Like, I can do this. So fast forwarding, coming over here, no part of me was worried about being a prosecutor at that point.
You just ready.
Yeah.
Want to not and get paid for it, not do it for
Now I'm going to get paid for it. So when I logged in, I was like, I wonder if these people are good. And I'll never forget, this guy ended up being my roommate. His name was Joshua Fredrickson. And he ended up being my roommate for 2 years. And we started at the state about the same time. And I'll never forget, the supervisor told us, they said, hey, go watch this kid. I'm not going to say the kid's name. They said, go watch this guy. He's really good. And we said, oh, okay. So we go and we sit there and we watch the guy in trial. And we both look at each other. We're like, wait, this is the best? Oh, okay. So we're good, right? Yeah, we're good. Right? No, that's when I realized. I was like, okay, yeah. At that point, at that moment, I realized, okay, this is what I do. This is what I'm good at. When I saw other people doing it and they were nervous in front of a jury or, stumbling and arguments were off. I was like, oh, people aren't born with that. Some people are and some people aren't. Doesn't matter how many books you read, doesn't matter how much you do it for. Some people are built to do a particular thing. You have to find out what that particular gift that you have is and exploit it. Whatever it is, you can find a way. Once you get in the real world, you can find a way to exploit the gift that you have. Every single human being has one, but you got to find a way to find it and exploit it. And once I realized mine was that I can talk to anybody. Doesn't matter what room I'm in. Doesn't matter. And again, I didn't know that about myself because I come from a small place. And I thought I was known for being, gift of gab, as, country folks say. I thought that was because I was in small areas. I had no idea until the pool kept growing that, oh, no, this is what I do. This is like, it doesn't matter what pool I'm in. I'm good at this. And so coming over here, I had little to no, my fear was the adjustment of the first time, because Winston-Salem is country too.
Yeah, it is.
Right. So Fort Myers, to me, oh man, I was like, wait, man, this is 6 lanes. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do out here. It was the adjustment of that area that I thought, look, I called Fort Myers a big city when I got here. Okay, I ain't know nothing else. So it was more of an adjustment of the actual life here than it was in the office part, right? Because I knew if you get me in court, it didn't matter what happened, paperwork, this, that. You get me in court, we won't. I tell people all the time, we get to court, I'm gonna put on the show. Y'all already know it's gonna be a show. Y'all gonna love it too. Like, hey, your client's super guilty. There's no way he's gonna win. But you know what? Y'all gonna enjoy this show one way or another. When that jury back there, y'all gonna be real worried. Should we have taken this slam dunk the trial against him? Should we have done that? I don't know, buddy. Y'all gonna sweat it, not me. But yeah, it's after a while you realize what your gift is, and then you become confident in that. That's kind of what happens.
That's exactly how we close. After you realize what your gift is, you come comfortable in it. Bro, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing your journey. There's somebody out there who's hearing it and realizing that, hey, first place it starts with is with me. And after that, I could just put in the work to make it happen. Fam, you are proof that if you want it, you can have it, period. I want to thank you for becoming a guest on our show. And fam,
no problem.
Got to connect and collab and get you on again.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
So you guys out there, continue to fight for your lawyer dreams. Make sure you holler at my guy on his Instagram. He got questions. He'll answer them.
Absolutely.
He's not here just to win. He also wants you to win too.
Yep.
So continue to fight because we need your representation. Overcome the challenges. He did. I did. Now we're praying, rooting, and willing to help you do it too. Thanks for you guys out there. And, bro, thank you so much for being a guest tonight.
No problem. Thank you.
Absolutely.